Hello everyone. I hope you all are doing fine and are taking care of yourselves. My name is Kanika Tandon and I'm back with the video of Class 8 English 2nd. As your half-yearly examinations are over, we have resumed your online classes and the YouTube classes from now. So today I'm going to start our syllabus of second term with chapter number 7, the prize poem. Starting our today's video with chapter number 7, the prize poem. Here is a story about a poetry competition for the students of St. Austin's College. The prize of the competition was sponsored by a rich man and its topic was chosen by the headmaster. A handful of students looked forward to this, but most considered it a burden. Read the story to find out what happens when students struggle to come up with a poem for the competition. So this story is basically about a school, the students of the school life, how a competition that has been conducted just to make them better feels like it is a burden for the students themselves. So this story is about that, about those boys, two boys basically, one of them who felt it a burden and another one who actually enjoyed writing the poem. And this poetry competition is for the students of St. Austin's College and has been organized by a rich man, so it has a prize for the winner. And but the topic of the poem was selected by the headmaster. Let us read the story to understand what actually happened in it. Reynolds was in the infirmary convalescing after an attack of German measles when he received a visit from Smith, an ornament of the 6th. So this story starting with the boy whose name is Reynolds, and he is in the hospital because he is recovering from an illness, and that illness is German measles. So measles is a kind of disease that is quite similar to chickenpox. Alright, and he has received a visit from Smith, who is a friend of Reynolds, and he is a student of last year. Alright. By Jove, remarked that gentleman, gazing enviously round the sick room, they seem to do you pretty well here. So this Smith is actually envious of Reynolds. Why? Because he has been sitting in a sick room and he is asking whether the doctors are doing well with you, or the nurses, or the people, those who are here for help, are doing well with you. Yes, not bad, is it? Take a seat. Anything been happening lately? And since this boy Reynolds is away from the school, so he wants to know what has been happening in the school lately. So he's telling his friend Smith that yes, they are taking care of me and it is good here. You come and sit and tell me what is happening in the school. Nothing much. I suppose you know we beat the MCC by a wicket. So here this boy Smith is telling about a cricket match between their college, their school, and MCC, which is the name of some other school, we are assuming. And he is asking him that he must have gotten the news about it. Yes, so I heard. Anything else? So now this boy Reynolds is asking, yes, I have heard that we have won the match against MCC, but is there anything else that has been happening in the school? Prize poem, said Smith without enthusiasm. He was not a poet. So now this the boy Smith, is actually not a poet. He does not know how to write poems, so he is not that enthusiastic, he is not that happy about the competition that has to be taken place. And the name of the competition is prize poem. Why prize poem? Because whosoever will win the poem competition will get a prize, because it was organized by a rich man. Reynolds became interested at once. If there was a hole in which he fancied himself, and indeed there were a good many, it was that of a versifier. So now Reynolds is actually very interested. Why? Because he has imagined himself to become a poet. He is good in writing poets, and he might have a hobby of reading poems as in the past times or something like these. So he got very interested at once because he wanted to take part in that poem competition. His great ambition was to see some of his lines in print, and he had contracted the habit of sending them up to various periodicals with no results so far. So he just don't want to write the poem. He actually writes them, and he has been sending his poems to the people from different magazines so that his poems might get printed. But no any poem of that boy Reynolds was printed in any magazine or in any newspaper. What's the subject this year, he asked. So now he is very curious to know the topic of the poem. The college, of all the things. Smith replies that the topic of the poem is the college. Coming on to the next page. Couldn't have a better subject for an ode. So now, according to Reynolds, since they were in the last 2 years of the college, according to Reynolds, there couldn't be any better option to write a poem on college. Wish I was in infirmary, said Smith. And now Smith said that he wanted to be in infirmary. It is very this is a very human behavior kind of a thing, right? When we are not interested in doing anything, and we know that the person who is sitting in front of us cannot take part in that competition because he is in the hospital, so you just want to switch your places with them. This happens with everybody. This happens with me. This might happen with you and everybody else. Now Smith didn't want to be a part of that poem competition, but Reynolds wanted to be a part of that competition. So Smith wanted to be in the hospital rather than Reynolds. Reynolds was stuck with an idea. Now there was an idea that struck Reynolds' mind. Look here, Smith, he asked. If you like, I'll do you a poem and you can send it up. If it gets the prize. Oh, it won't get the prize, Smith put it eagerly. Rogers is a cert for that. Now Reynolds is actually giving an idea to Smith that he will write a poem for him, and then he'll have to send that poem to the magazine people. But Smith actually interrupts him by saying that Rogers is a certain person to win the prize of the poem competition. Rogers might be a person who was actually good in writing poems, or used to get a prize in the poem competition. If it gets the prize, repeated Reynolds with asperity, you will have to tell the old man all about it. He'll probably cause a bit, but that can't be helped. How is this for a beginning? So now this Reynolds is actually, it happens now when we want to tell somebody something and they do not listen, interrupts us in between, so we just change our tone. Similarly, Reynolds also changed his voice and tone and said, if it gets the prize, because he was on to something. So he wanted to tell Smith that at least listen to me, then you can speak whatever you want to. So now he wants that if he wins the prize, Reynolds will write a poem for Smith. And since Reynolds cannot take part in the competition because he is in the hospital, he asked Smith to put that poem out and tell the old man everything about. Now he is giving an example of what will be the first 4 lines of the poem. Imposing pile reared up midst pleasant grounds, the scene of many a battle, lost or won, at cricket or at football, whose red balls full many a sun has kissed, ere day is gone. Well, said Smith, I must be off now. We have got a house on match. Thanks awfully about the poem. And now Smith says to Renault that he has a house match on, so he'll go and witness that match. Left to himself, Renault set himself seriously to composing of an ode that should do him justice. And now Renault has set a chair table and have sat just to compose a poem that will make him look good, uh, that will represent him very beautifully or correctly. That is to say, he drew up a chair and table and to the open windows, wrote down the lines he had already composed, and began chewing a pen. So now he has started to write the poem and actually writing those 4 lines which he told Smith. And then he has started to chew his pen, and he has started to think about the next lines. After a few minutes, he wrote another 4 lines, crossed them out, and selected a fresh piece of paper. And then what happened? He thought of 4 lines, he wrote them, and then he made a cut over them, and then took another page, a fresh page, and started to write it again. He then copied out his first 4 lines again. After eating his pen to a stump, he jotted down the 2 words boys and joys at the end of separate lines. This led him to select a third piece of paper, on which he produced the little ode to the college in printed letters at the top. And now what he has written, he has actually taken a new paper now and have written those 4 lines again. And now there is nothing that is coming into his mind, so he has chewed the pen so much that it is actually destroyed. And now he has thought of 2 words that are boys and joys, and now he wants to complete those lines, but he's getting no words to write. So this made him select another piece of paper. He took a third piece of paper, and then he wrote very beautifully on the top of the page, ode to the college, which means poem to the college, in a very beautiful handwriting. Coming on to the next page. He was admiring the neat effect of this when the door opened suddenly and violently, and Mrs. Lee, a lady of advanced years and energetic habits, whose duty was to minister to the needs of sick and wounded in the infirmary, entered with his tea. So now, as he was writing and as he was looking at the paper and admiring his handwriting, thinking that how beautifully he has written the title, there was a lady whose name was Mrs. Lee, and who was in charge of looking out whether the sick is getting a proper care in the sick room or not, has actually violently entered the room with her tea in the hand. She flung wide the gate of the sick room, and the result was that what is commonly called a thorough draught, and what was established. And now what happened? As soon as she has entered the room, everybody has got panicked, and the just because of the way he violently opened the door, a gust of wind has come, and the paper of the little boy where he was writing actually flew off. The air was thick with flying papers, and when calm at length succeeded storm, 2 editions of Ode to the College were lying on the grass outside. And what happened? Because of that wind that was produced as Mrs. Lee opened the door, the 2 of the editions, which means the starting 4 lines on the first page, and starting 4 lines and 2 words boys and joys, that he had written on the pages were actually on the ground outside. So those papers flew out of the window. Reynolds attacked the tea without attempting to retrieve his vanished work. Poetry is good, but tea is better. Besides, he argued within himself. He remembered all he had written and could easily write it out again. So, as far as he was concerned, those 3 sheets of paper were a closed book. So, actually, he made made himself think that as this Mrs. Lee has come into the room to give Reynolds the tea, he actually made his mind up by telling that okay, those 3 papers, I have not written anything as such on the paper, so I actually remember what all I have written, so I don't need those papers and I need that tea. Tea is actually more important than writing than those papers, when I actually remember what I have written in those papers. So according to him, those papers were actually a closed book. Later on in the afternoon, Montgomery of the 6th happened to be passing by the infirmary when fate, aided by a sudden gust of wind, blew a piece of paper at him. His eyes fell on the words "Ode to the College." Montgomery, like Smith, was no expert in poetry. He had spent a wretched afternoon trying to hammer out something that would pass muster in the poem competition, but without the least success. There were 4 lines on the paper. And now, what happened? Later in that afternoon, Montgomery, who is a classmate of Smith, because he was also in 6th, right? He was also in the last 2 years of the school. So he found that paper that was written by Reynolds, and in that paper it was written "Ode to the College" as the title, and he was also not a very expert in writing poems. So what happened, he took that paper and he was very unpleasant he was very unpleasant as he spent the afternoon trying to understand what has been written and what else he could write. And there were only 4 lines on the paper, and the only thing he knew was that it is that he has to write more. So in today's video we are going to read the chapter till here, and in my next video we'll be completing this chapter and with the word meanings of the chapter. So I will see you all in my next video. Till then, take care and keep studying.